April 2001, Manchester. Old Trafford is packed to the rafters. Down on the pitch stands a Norwegian footballer, Alfie Haaland. He's wearing the Manchester City jersey, playing what might be the most important match of his life. He's only 28 years old. His career is at its peak. Everything is going right. Then comes a tackle. A vicious, calculated, deliberate tackle. Roy Keane's boot crashes into Alfie's knee with full force. For a single moment, the entire stadium falls silent. In that instant, nobody knew, not Alfie, not the crowd, not the cameras recording it all, that this wasn't just an injury. This was the death of a dream. And yet that very same dream, exactly 21 years later, would come alive again in the chest of another Haaland. This is the story of a father whose dream was broken, and of a son who picked up the shattered pieces of that dream and carried them all the way to the sky. This is the story of Erling Haaland. Let's go back a little. Alfie Haaland, everyone called him Alfie, was born in a small Norwegian town called Breen. The dream of becoming a footballer ran in his blood. At 7 years old, he joined the academy of his local club, Breen. He worked, he proved himself, and slowly he climbed out of Norway and reached the top leagues of England. Nottingham Forest, then Leeds United, and then Manchester City. This was no small thing. The Premier League, the toughest, most competitive football league on earth. Millions of children dream of getting here, and only a handful ever make it. Alfie made it. He became a regular starter for Manchester City. He'd started 33 out of 34 league matches. He had become indispensable to the team. But fate had its own plans. After that April 2001 tackle, Alfie's knee never fully healed. The truth is, his other knee had already been troubling him, but together, those two things ended his career. He never played another full 90-minute match after that day. In 2003, at just 30 years old, Alfie Haaland was forced to say goodbye to football. Just 30 years old. The age when a player is in the middle of his career, when his very best years should be ahead of him. That's the age at which Alfie's dream came to an end. Think about what that man must have felt. Years of work, sacrifice, and pain. And it all ended on an injury he couldn't even control. The story could have ended right here. Just another forgotten footballer, whose name would only be remembered for one bad tackle. But back in Alfie's home, a little boy was growing up. Erling Braut Haaland was born on the 21st of July, 2000, in Leeds, England, at the exact time his father was playing for Leeds United, which means Erling grew up surrounded by football pitches from the very day he was born. Dressing rooms, training grounds, the smell of a stadium, all of it was woven into his soul from childhood. When Erling was 3, the family moved back to that same small Norwegian town, Breen, the very place where Alfie had begun his own journey. And in that same Breen academy, at 5 years old, little Erling started playing football. Now here's the beautiful part of the story. Erling didn't just play football. He did athletics too, handball, even golf. And it's said that at 5 years old, he set a world record in his age group for the standing long jump, a leap of 1.63 meters. His mother, Gry Marita Braut, was herself a national heptathlon champion of Norway. So this boy had the strength of both an elite athlete and a footballer running through his blood. But it wasn't just about genes. It was about a dream that floated in the air of that house. The dream that had been left unfinished by his father. Erling never saw his father cry on a football pitch, but he felt that pain, the kind of pain that comes from a broken dream. And in the heart of that child, a quiet resolve was born. What Dad couldn't finish, I will finish. But dreaming is easy. Making it real, that's a different war entirely. In the beginning, Erling was no famous wonder kid that everyone knew about. He played for Breen's reserve team, in the 4th tier, one of the lowest rungs of Norwegian football. But there, he proved one thing: he could score goals. 18 goals in 18 matches. Then came the club Molde, where his coach was Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, a Manchester United legend. Solskjaer sharpened Erling's heading and his technique. Slowly, this Norwegian boy began to catch people's eyes. In 2019, Red Bull Salzburg brought him to Austria. And this is where the world saw the real Erling Haaland for the first time. In his debut match in the Champions League, in his very first game, he scored a hat-trick. 3 goals in the first half. Very few players in history have ever done that. But the journey had only just begun. In 2020, Borussia Dortmund, Germany. Goal after goal after goal. Then in 2021, he won the German Cup. Every club, every league, every challenge, Erling just kept scoring, kept breaking records. People started asking, where is this kid gonna stop? And then, in 2022, came the moment that is the very heart of this whole story. In 2022, Erling Haaland joined a club, Manchester City. The very same Manchester City his father had played for. The same club where Alfie's dream was broken. The same jersey his father had been carried off the pitch in. Stop and think about the weight of that for a moment. A father's dream was left unfinished at this club. And 21 years later, his son walks back into that very same club, but this time, to finish the dream. This wasn't just a transfer. This was poetic justice. This was the universe balancing an account. And what did Erling do? In his very first season, 2022-23, he set the record for the most goals in a single Premier League season in the league's entire history. 36 goals. The old record had stood at 34, untouched for years. Erling broke it in his very first year. He won the Golden Boot, the award for the league's top scorer. And the biggest thing of all, that season Manchester City won the treble, the Premier League, the FA Cup, and the Champions League. The hardest thing to do in football. On the very ground where the father's dream broke, the son won it all. And do you know the most beautiful part? Roy Keane, the very man whose tackle ended Alfie's career, today sits on television analyzing Erling's goals. The same hand that broke the father's dream is now forced to praise the son. But Erling's hunger doesn't stop here. There was one thing he didn't have, one thing his father never had either: the World Cup. Norway hadn't reached a World Cup in 28 years, not since 1998. In his entire life, Erling had never seen his country play at a World Cup. All his contemporaries, Messi, Mbappe, had all played in one. But Erling, perhaps the most lethal striker in the world, was far away from the World Cup stage. Critics used it against him. They said, until there's a World Cup, his story is incomplete. But Erling did what he always does. He scored goals. 16 goals in qualifying, 8 more than anyone else. And in November 2025, in Milan's San Siro Stadium, by beating Italy 4-1, Norway finally qualified for the World Cup. A 28-year wait, over. And at the 2026 World Cup, Erling Haaland did what he does: 4 goals in his first 2 matches. Norway in the knockout round for the first time in 28 years. And Erling right there in the Golden Boot race alongside Messi and Mbappe. I'm part of something special, he said. Norway is part of something special. We're making history, and I'm extremely proud to be Norwegian. So what do we learn from this entire story? Alfie Haaland's dream was broken, but it didn't die. He left that dream alive in the heart of his son. And Erling didn't just finish that dream. He carried it far beyond anything his father imagined, all the way to the sky. This story isn't just about football. It's about how one generation's failure can become the next generation's strength. How a broken dream, if placed in the right hands, can become an entire revolution. Maybe your parents have an unfinished dream too. Maybe they also reached for something they could never quite grasp. Erling Haaland teaches us that those dreams don't die. They simply wait for the next pair of hands to pick them up. The father showed the path. The son reached the destination. And maybe that's the most beautiful truth about life, that some dreams aren't finished in a single generation. They wait for the next one. And when a brave child takes hold of that dream, history changes, just like Erling Haaland changed it.